You've fed them, you've watered them, you've babied them from seedling to fruit. But those tomatoes just won't turn red. They stay green, firm, and stubbornly unripe while you wait, watch, and, maybe even wonder if you missed something. Here's the twist. This has less to do with nutrients than you think. In fact, dumping more fertilizer might only make the problem worse. The real reasons your tomatoes are refusing to ripen are rooted in biology, temperature, airflow, and even how you care for the plant's structure. If you're growing healthy green fruit that just won't shift to red, this guide is exactly what you need. Let's break down why this happens, what factors influence ripening, and how to fix it without resorting to chemical ripeners or overcorrecting with fertilizers. The tomatoes' natural ripening trigger ethylene and heat. Tomatoes ripen through a process triggered by ethylene gas, which the plant produces naturally. Ethylene sets off a chain reaction, sugars rise, chlorophyll breaks down, and pigments like lycopene and carotene take over, turning the fruit red or orange depending on the variety. But for this process to unfold smoothly, the tomato needs just the right environmental conditions. Temperature is one of the most overlooked factors in ripening. Tomatoes ripen best between 70 and 85 degrees Fahrenheit. Once temperatures rise above 85 to 90 degrees consistently, especially during those long summer days, ripening slows dramatically. Even though the plant looks lush and the fruit is plump, the internal chemistry needed for ripening simply pauses. It's nature's way of preventing cellular damage from heat stress. If you're experiencing heat waves or growing in warm climates, this could be the silent reason behind stubborn green tomatoes. Instead of trying to fix the plant, focus on cooling the environment. You can add shade cloth during the hottest hours, or even mist the surrounding pathways to reduce ambient heat. Cooling the microclimate just a few degrees can, really kickstart the ripening process again. Most gardeners assume yellowing leaves or stunted growth point to a nutrient issue. But in the case of green tomatoes that just won't ripen, excess nitrogen is often the culprit. Nitrogen encourages leafy growth. If you fed your plants with a high nitrogen fertilizer meant for greens or early stage growth, your tomato plant may be stuck in vegetative overdrive. That means big, beautiful vines with little incentive to ripen the fruit. If your tomato bed looks like a lush jungle with fruit buried deep in the canopy, it's probably time to rebalance. Switch to a low nitrogen, high phosphorus fertilizer, or, honestly, just stop fertilizing altogether and let the plant redirect its energy to ripening. Another hidden issue is the microclimate around the actual fruit. Tomatoes need proper air circulation and direct or filtered light to develop fully. If your plants are overcrowded, overgrown, or tangled in too much foliage, the fruit may be shaded and poorly ventilated. This is where pruning becomes vital. Remove the lower leaves, suckers between the main stem and branches, and any dense inner growth. This allows light and air to reach the fruit cluster, helping regulate temperature and activate ripening through gentle sun exposure. But don't go overboard. Pruning too aggressively can stress the plant and halt fruit development altogether. Aim to remove about 10 to 20% of foliage gradually over a week, focusing on improving airflow and reducing heavy shading. Tomatoes have limited energy. If you let the plant produce too many fruits at once, it struggles to ripen them all simultaneously. It's kind of like trying to bake 100 loaves of bread with one small oven, none finish properly. This is especially common in heirloom or indeterminate varieties that keep flowering and fruiting. To fix this, thin out smaller or underdeveloped fruit clusters. Prioritize larger, mature tomatoes. Pinch off new flowers late in the season to encourage the plant to focus on ripening what's already growing. This is honestly one of the most effective ways to force the plant into finish mode. Before chemical fertilizers and growth enhancers, farmers used basic chemistry and clever tactics to encourage ripening. One of the most enduring tricks is to place ripe bananas near tomato plants. Bananas emit a large amount of ethylene gas, and when placed near green tomatoes, they act like a natural ripening accelerator. Another traditional method used by gardeners in hot regions is the clay pot trap. You just bury a small clay pot next to your tomato plant with a banana or, an overripe tomato inside. Then cover the top with a flat rock or plate. As the fruit breaks down, it releases ethylene gas right at the base of your tomato canopy, concentrated and controlled. This works especially well for shaded or underripened areas. These time-tested methods are chemical-free, low-cost, and honestly, they're surprisingly effective when other strategies fail. If your tomatoes are still refusing to ripen, you might want to take a 1-week soil and structure reset. First, stop fertilizing. Then, remove about 1/5 of the foliage, focusing on those dense clusters and shaded areas. Thin out immature fruits, and go ahead and remove flowers that have just set. Mulch the base lightly to stabilize moisture and temperature. Water consistently but not excessively. Tomatoes under stress from inconsistent watering often pause fruit development. A deep soak every 3 to 4 days in hot weather is better than daily sprinkles. If you suspect heat is the issue, add a temporary 30% shade cloth over the bed during the peak afternoon hours. This lowers soil and leaf temperature enough to reactivate the ethylene cycle. Finally, place a few ripe bananas in open mesh bags and hang them from the cage or trellis next to your tomato clusters. You'll often see results within 3 to 7 days, especially if you've cleared the foliage and thinned excess fruit. Planning ahead helps avoid mid-season slowdowns. Choose tomato varieties bred for your zone's average summer heat. In high-heat regions, look for heat-tolerant or early ripening types. Space your plants generously to allow airflow from day one. Use compost-based slow-release fertilizers and avoid high-nitrogen formulas unless your plants are young and leafy. Support the plants properly with cages or trellises so fruit isn't crammed or laying on the soil. And prune with intention. Don't wait until the canopy is a jungle to let light in. When tomatoes stay green long after you expect them to blush red, don't assume your soil is bad or your fertilizer failed. Look deeper. Nature has a checklist: temperature, airflow, light, stress signals, and energy balance. Miss one, and the ripening process hits pause. Now that you know what triggers fruit to change color and how to coax it naturally, you have all the tools to turn green into red without guessing. If this guide gave you a breakthrough or solved a mystery in your garden, hit subscribe and share it with fellow growers. At Soil and Plant Doctor, we help gardeners get to the root of the issue, literally.